Hey, this is kind of like future ZEEP, like low key. Huge spoiler warnings, like humongous spoiler warnings. And I'm sorry if my voice sounds squeaky because my voice gets dry when I talk a lot, which you'd be surprised because I talk a lot. Well, I guess that's it. Okay. Well, enjoy. Bye bye. Hey, so it's been a while since I've recorded a video. Well, while this channel was like really, really dead, I wanted to make another video because I feel like I haven't in a while, and I think it would be fun, you know? So, this video, I don't know, I just want to basically just talk about Breaking Bad and the color scheme. The reason some of my footage in this thing is because, you know, long story short for dummies, I'm calling you guys dummies, obviously. I recorded too long. It was like 30 minutes long in my recording, and it kicked me out because it was like, hey, you recorded too much, so we're gonna kick you out of Ibis. So I got kicked out, and then I deleted the footage, and then I recorded, and I realized it was like 1 minute left of unfinished footage, so I was like, whatever, screw it. But basically, like, well, I don't really know how to start this. I guess I'll start with, colors, yeah, because there's a lot of symbolism in Breaking Bad. Like, a ton. I had made a TikTok on it, but, you know, not a lot of people who watch my TikTok, because I don't think anybody knows, like, they're correlated. But I'll probably do a shameless plug in the end. But, like, essentially, okay. So, if you imagine a color wheel, I'll probably put one up because I know a lot of people can't go without visual representations. It's kind of me. So, if you look at yellow, it's at the top of the color wheel. Here, 1 second. Just give me a sec. I really shouldn't be doing this in my voiceover because it's very irresponsible, but whatever. Like, what on earth? Yeah, okay, there it is. Okay, so, yellow, it's on the top. Yellow is, you know, it represents a lot in Breaking Bad. And the few characters that wear yellow, I'll probably put photos of them wearing yellow because, I mean, that kind of makes sense in my opinion. I don't know, though. Okay, so, characters that wear yellow are Jesse, Saul, and Gus. Well, Saul wears a lot of colors to represent his place as a lawyer because he takes different moral roles in different cases. Like, in certain cases, he'll take the role of blue, like the victim or kindness. But with Walter and Jesse, he takes the role of yellow because he works very, very closely with the product that Jesse and Walt cook. It represents yellow is a close relation to the product that Jesse and Walt cooks, and Saul provides assistance to Walt and Jesse, which is why he's so close to yellow. Gus is a supplier of the ingredients because, you know, later on in the season, I forgot to mention there will be a lot of spoilers in this. Sorry. I think I might have mentioned it already. I don't know. But basically, like, Gus, he's a supplier of ingredients once Walt and Jesse move to his big warehouse, and he ships out the product, and, you know, Jesse cooks, so it's kind of like the huge reason he's correlated with, you know, yellow, which is supposed to represent the product, like, long story short. Orange is the once again, I'll put a color wheel and I'll probably zoom in on the color just to make it easier if I remember. I don't know. But basically, orange, Hank wears orange because it's like very close to yellow because he has some relation to the product because, you know, he's a DEA agent, so he's in like really, really close ties with the product and or Heisenberg/Walt. Also, red is close to orange, and red can represent anger, death, violence, you know, that stuff, which Hank goes through in the show. And that's a huge piece in the whole story. Colors are a huge piece of Breaking Bad. It's kind of like a very common thing. It's been recognized by a lot of fans. But, sorry. Yeah, Hank is in really close ties with the product, which is why he's orange. And, like, on a color wheel, that just truly makes the most sense. And then at the bottom, like, if you just go straight to the bottom, there's purple. Like, there's magenta, purple, that kind of stuff. And purple is a direct opposite to yellow, being the only color that is completely furthest from yellow / the product. And, Marie, she wears purple. And she is not a cook, a launderer, a shipper, supplier, or federal / DEA agent. She has no control or knowledge of the product, or in no way helps with the item. Jeez, my voice sounds really dry, I'm sorry. She has, like, basically no relation to the product. She doesn't ship it, make it, produce it, anything of the sorts. And, also, Walt Jr., he really has no place on the wheel because he's, like, a minor and not an adult, so he doesn't, there would be no way he has a role in any of it, because, and he also wears a multitude of colors throughout the show, and he definitely has no place in cooking just because he wore green once. But if he were to even be placed on the wheel, he'd be in the same place as Marie, because he knows nothing about the product, and so does Marie. It's also slightly the opposite of green. Once again, I'll put an example. I need to stop saying that. Purple is the opposite of green, because, like, on a wheel it's, like, down, and then green is, like, slightly at an angle, like, above angle. I don't know how to describe it. And those opposites can represent, Walt is really secretive about his whereabouts, while Marie will gossip about anything and everything to Skylar, Hank, or really anyone who will listen. I can't even lie. And then the character that wears blue is Skylar. Skylar is in between complete lack of knowledge and being in direct contact with the product itself. She helps launder the money, but she is not a cook or federal agent who works face-to-face with the product. But she still has a really large role in it all. Blue can represent purity, kindness, peace, sadness. Why did I write purity twice? Etc., which is the opposite of red, Hank on the color wheel, showing their direct opposite personalities. Because, once again, red represents violence, anger, what else did I write? Death, anger, or violence. And blue can represent purity, peace, kindness, life, etc. And, Marie, she brought life to this world. She gave birth to Holly. Oh my gosh, I'm so dumb, I meant Skylar. The direct opposite of red, which is Hank, showing their direct opposite personalities. And green. Green is, green can represent greed, money, science, and Walt / Heisenberg, because he wears green. Green is pretty close to yellow on a color wheel, but it's not directly yellow, because Walter's life does not revolve around cooking in specific, and he's close to his wife on the color wheel. Like, he's more tied down by his wife than Jesse is, because, Jesse has no wife or kids, and is not tied to one specific side by someone and or something. He's also green because he has, definitely not been in the trade as long as Jesse, and like I had mentioned, his life doesn't revolve around it in specific. He doesn't, like, deal it like Jesse used to. I feel like, I don't know if he doesn't really do it anymore. I mean, he does it on the side, I'm pretty sure. I don't know. I don't even know. And here is representation about colors that aren't just, like, about people. So, this upcoming is huge spoilers, so please, like, if you've already sat through this all, then, I hope I didn't spoil a lot for you. But, okay, so Walter and greed are represented by the same color, green, and red, and violence and death, make yellow, which is the product, like that Jesse and Walt cook, showing the item is a direct product of Walt's greed and violence. Like, the only reason Walter is continuing to make this is because he's fueled by greed and violence around him. He is working to make this money to protect himself and his family, obviously, but, he's a selfish guy. Also, like, when Walter died, he was wearing green when he died. I'm like 90% sure. And his blood is red, obviously. And green and red make yellow. And what does yellow represent? The product. I'm pretty sure, at least. I'm pretty sure. I can't remember. I'm not good with color theory. But whenever Walt died, he was wearing green, and his blood shows his death was because of the product. He died directly he would still be alive if he weren't still cooking. That's like a pretty, big thing. And here's one that I actually found to be really cool. So in the Schrader home, like Marie and Hank Schrader, oh my gosh, there is so much purple, it could drive you crazy. And it's supposed to represent how their house is basically untouched by Heisenberg. But also, if you because purple inverted is green, and if you invert purple in the Schrader's home, it turns green, which is showing how Hank has been quite literally living alongside Heisenberg this entire time. Hank has been eating meals with the same person he's been hunting down forever. He's been, that's his brother-in-law. It's kind of a big part. And pink, here's, second point. Pink is a very close color to purple, and the bear is pink. The one from the plane crash episode where it fell in the pool or whatever, it's a representation of Walt's hint of innocence or lack thereof, quote unquote innocence, not straight up just innocence, but or lack thereof, that he carries with him all the time. It's supposed to represent the small piece of himself that he still carries, but it's really just a false sense of innocence / purity. You catch my drift. Geez, I have a lot of points. And time for item symbolism. On the same topic of the bear, it can show that when Walt takes the eye with him, it's a personification of guilt in general, because eyes have a huge thing of guilt. It can mean the eye of God watching over him, making him feel forever guilty. There's that. It's a total point, but I don't know. Or the guilt that comes from losing that innocence, or feeling as if it's a missing side of you is following you everywhere, because Walt feels like he's being hunted down by who he used to be. Hey, you could have been this person if you just didn't decide to cook and sell. He also fouled the bear when he was beginning to abandon his family, and the burnt half of the bear's face could also represent the loss of morality in Walter, how there's only the dark side of him, and how the darkness is infecting him. I don't really know how else to describe it. Same thing with shadows, because I'll probably put examples of this too. Everything that requires a visual example, you can probably assume that I'll show it. I can't remember. I don't really know truly. Same thing with shadows. Gus, Gustavo Fring, Walter White, Mike, Ehrmantraut, and sometimes Jesse Pinkman can show one side with their personality. Maybe in that moment, maybe temporarily, etc., where the only side of their personality is dark and morally gray. Because sometimes there's some scenes where only half their face has shadows, showing this is the dark half that is only being shown because they're in a dark moment, And Flight 515, I'm pretty sure it's 515. Yeah, it's 515. Flight 515, the little blue ribbons, they're on Saul Goodman, Walter, Skylar, etc. While the ribbon truly could go into the color theory section, I do believe it belongs in the item symbolism, since it's an item. The ribbons worn in support of the crash are blue, which is close to green, which represents greed. An item being this close to a color commonly known for being bad in the series could go with the narrative that it has a meaning. And blue being so close to green because green represents greed, it can also show that the crash was a product of Walt's greed, because Walt did break into Jesse's apartment to tell him to get clean and sober up because he wanted him to stay in the trade and cook, directly wanting him to help make money. That sounds greedy, at least in my opinion. I don't know. And as we all know, Jane passing was the cause of the 515 crash, because Jane's dad, he was so caught up in his own grief, eventually failing his job as an air traffic controller because he accidentally allowed the crash to happen. And then mirrored numbers. Well, this topic is kind of confuzzling, so I'll try and make it make sense. And mirrors, there are two sides. Did I not put that? Okay. And there are two sides. 515, the flight, Jesse's apartment 323, phone number area code 505 for, I think, New Mexico? I don't know, I can't remember. Etc. The list goes on. In a mirror, there are two sides. There's the person looking in the mirror and the reflection looking back. This can show the duality of man. I love topics involving the duality of man. And the different personalities, for example. One side is Walter, the other side is Heisenberg. One side is Jesse, trying to get clean, trying to have a steady relationship, stay away from cooking, etc. The other side is him crawling back to where it all began. Even with Jane almost having the same example as Jessie, she cleaned up, got in a steady relationship, went to rehab, etc., but crawled back to what eventually, ended up ending her life. Well, it's kind of Walter's fault, but, she did the stuff, so I don't really know. Breakfast, I know it's a pretty silly topic. It's like a running joke in the fandom, but I really do think it represents, like, purity and a show of love. The quality of Walter's breakfasts deteriorate over time as Skylar and Walter's relationship runs dry, and large breakfasts can represent a show of love. Like when Walter would make large breakfasts in the family, he did it in an attempt to regain Skylar's love or something of the sorts. Walter's pants. I believe it was in the pilot, whenever Walter was in his underwear, driving the RV, and he, like, kind of crashed, and, like, that, because him wearing, like, him wearing pants means dominance in a family, or dominance in general, because, the man of the house wears, the pants in the family, and him taking them off to cook is a symbol of defiance over Skylar and his need to always be right, because he is still being dominant in the family by committing an act that will make him lots of money, which, the man of the house is known to do, while still being independent as well. Hold on. Sorry, my notes are really messy. He's wearing the pants in the family, and he's not, like, he's wearing the pants in the family figuratively and literally, because when he cooks, he's not wearing pants because he takes them off, but he's still being dominating because he wants to prove Skylar right by being dominating with or without his pants. Not, like, literally. I mean, it could be literally, because, like, he quite literally isn't wearing his pants in some scenes. And also, while shopping, I can't even remember what episode it was. It was, like, season 1, because it was whenever Walt still had hair. I miss you, haired Walt. Walt Jr., he was trying on pants or whatever. Pants are, like, a huge part in this story. In Breaking Bad, I don't even know why. Walt Jr. and Skylar were shopping for pants, and these kids were, like, making fun of Walt Jr. or whatever. And then Walter got angry, and, he beat up the kids, showing his dominance over them. When he was driving away in the RV, his pants kind of flew away, aka a moment of weakness for him, or briefly losing his manhood, because, wearing the pants in the house is usually a manly thing. I'm not saying it's just defining to men, but it's a very, like, manly stereotype, that's the word, because he intended to submit to the cops instead of attempting to dominate them, as one would expect after watching him in the later shows. Like, if that exact scene happened in season 4, you'd be like, oh, he's gonna beat up those cops. But in season 1, he's not really. Like, he isn't as crazy as he is in season. Like, he's not really that crazy in season 1, personally. I mean, at the start of season 1, he's not. It's always a point to show Walt and or Jesse changing into the yellow jumpsuits that they cook in. And once again, gotta go back to color theory. I told you it's important. The jumpsuits are out. The jumpsuits are yellow, and them changing into that is meant to show their transition from normal civilians to cooks. Excuse me. Walter is trading his dominance for the yellow jumpsuit because he knows that Jesse will inevitably submit to his words, no matter if he's wearing the pants or not, because he knows that Jesse is always put in a vulnerable position around Walter. And speaking of Jesse and clothes, Jesse's clothes eventually grow slightly less baggy over the series, because in the beginning he was like a shell of himself, hiding himself with, well, a large shell of sorts, because he was stuck in his own addiction, and over time his outfits became slightly less baggier, because he was sort of leaving that shell and growing mentally, as well as bettering himself, and he was no longer hiding in that big shell that covered him completely. And I love Breaking Bad. The plate from season 1 that Crazy Eight tries to use to, like, hurt Walt, can represent Walt and of himself. A plate is made to serve, just like Walter is made to serve his family, in a financial and dominance way. But when he's broken, he is rendered useless and pathetic, basically. Like, so when Walt realizes there's a piece missing from that plate, he's like, his first thought is, oh my gosh, Crazy 8 has the shard of the plate, and he's gonna hurt me with it. Like, that's his first thought, and he does, which, you know, it's supposed to represent Walt, because when he realizes there's a piece missing, when he realizes that the piece is missing, he fails to recognize his own brokenness, just the piece that's missing. That's all he wants to focus on. Like how he tries to fix his own family, but it's quite literally his own fault that his family is falling apart before his very eyes. Okay, yeah, this is the last piece. This video is almost over. Oh, it's 20 minutes long. Okay, sorry. The matches. I can't even remember what episode it is. It's the episode where Walt comes to terms with the fact that the plane crash was basically, like, quite literally his complete fault. It all stemmed from him. It was a relatively small detail, but you can watch Walter throw matches into his pool. While it could represent the plane crash victims fizzling out into the large blue abyss similar to the sky, it could also be representative of Walter's family and his obsessions. See, ow. In color theory, blue is like pure. Like I said, Skylar's pure. She's kind of. And Walter wants nothing but a pure product, and every match can represent the obstacles he has or will overcome to reach purity in any possible way. He wants physical purity, mental purity, and then purity in what he cooks. It could also be Skylar, because sky, you know, pool, blue, because as I had mentioned, blue can represent Skylar, and the matches could be foreshadowing every awful act that he has or will do for his wife and kids. It could also just be a simple representation of his bottomless greed and empty soul. The large pool swallows every flame and snuffs it out, which could mean Walter snuffing out lives for his bottomless greed, or every match can represent the money he makes. There will never be enough matches in his hand to fill that pool, just as there will never be enough money to fill his greed and cold, empty soul. I truly apologize for this video being kind of short. I mean, it's 20 minutes long, but still a little short. If it was a video essay, which is what I'm kind of trying to do. And sorry for, like, I already explained what happened with the art, but, I'm really happy that I'm kind of getting back into this, because I really did miss it, and I really hope there's more emotion put into this, as opposed to my video about YouTube or whatever, because as much as I love that video, I always sound kind of soulless reading off scripts, so I wanted to put points, and maybe this will sound better. I don't know. Well, shameless plug here. I'm probably gonna put my TikTok, so you can follow me on there, because, like, that'd be, like, totally cool, because, like, I'm, like, totally cool, guys. I pinky winky promise. Ow. I don't know if I said ow, that didn't hurt me. And you'll probably see a lot more of my art if you like my art. It's kind of subjective, I don't know. But I mean, hey, if you, like, totally want more, just, I guess, follow me on TikTok, send me a DM and be like, hey, I like this video, make me more now. Anyways, bye bye. Oh, by the way, I also changed my channel name. I don't know if, like, I said that or not, and I plan on changing my profile picture if I haven't already, because I don't really like my current one. But also, huge shout out to the one person on TikTok who was like, hey, you should make a video essay, because, like, I love the points that you put in this TikTok, so it's, like, totally cool. Total shout out to you, bro. Anyways, well, bye bye. Okay, bye. Oh, here's, like, the finished product. I completely forgot about it.